Hello, I'm Jamie Alden, and I was recently at the National Association of Realtors Legislative Meetings in Washington, D.C., and I wanted to give you guys my top 5 takeaways from my time in D.C. So I put together a 5-part video series, and each video will be one takeaway. So I hope you find the content valuable, and thank you for watching. Takeaway number 4, buyer options. How to explain buyer compensation to a buyer. Explain clearly how compensation flows through the transaction and the various ways you can get paid. Your contract to be paid to represent your buyer is executed with you and your buyer. But, as we've discussed, there are multiple ways for compensation to be paid to you. Compensation can be paid via buyer, via seller, via other broker, or potentially a combination of these. It's important that your buyer understands that. As an industry, we haven't done a good job of communicating our value. We do so much behind the scenes to keep our transactions running smoothly and don't necessarily convey that to our clients. The recent lawsuit is forcing us to do a better job of communicating our value. So make sure your buyer presentation is rock solid. Know your value. Help a buyer understand why having representation is in their best interest. Explain the fee you charge to represent them and why. Make sure in your written buyer agreements that you have a specific amount for your compensation. You cannot put a range. It cannot be open-ended. Also, if you and your buyer agree that your compensation will be X, but the seller's offering more than X, you, as the buyer broker, cannot take more than the amount you and your buyer agreed upon in the buyer agreement. Can you amend the buyer brokerage agreement later to accept a higher amount? Well, Betsy Urbance, the head legal counsel of Illinois Realtors, said she wouldn't advise it. Betsy recommends going with whatever you and the buyer agreed upon originally and not making amendments later on so you can get paid a higher amount. If there is a difference above X, your agreed upon fee, it is between the seller and the listing broker to figure out what to do with the difference.